So this is the beautiful, beautiful book cover. There is no color, unfortunately. Book cover. As you can see, the main character is not only female, not only a person of color, she is also hella gay. And those 3 reasons right there is why this book is incredible. Okay, I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, I believe. Oh, you guys, I have just so many feels for this book, and not just feels, but there's so much representation is the word I'm looking for. Isn't that sad that we struggle to get that just in life in general? Representation, okay? This book is just so satisfying to read as a queer person. It is such fantastic, just incredible, okay? It is so diverse, of course. I mean, there is more than one character of color in this book. It's not just the token POC tossed in. As well as that, there is more than one queer person in this book. The main 2 relationships, not just the main 1 relationship, the main 2 relationships in this book are both lesbian couples. This is just such an incredible, incredible, incredible novel. I should probably have some structure to this rant, and I promise you I am trying, but it is just so fantastic I will probably end up going off in tangents. So, first of all, as you can see, the main character is Black. Sophia Grimmins she is a incredibly fantastic main protagonist to have. She is incredibly badass, just to begin with, just straight off the bat. Even the first paragraph in the book is her pretty much stating, I'm in love with this girl and I would die for her. She's pretty dramatic, I have to say. She is such a fantastic character. I mean, not only is she ticking all the boxes for representation, like of course there are so many minority groups in this world, and I will not even begin to pretend that this book covers all of them. It does not, unfortunately. It only covers a fraction, because unfortunately that is how many minority groups there are in the world. As far as novels go, this book ticks so many more boxes than the average novel does. Unfortunately, it has to be said. So Sophia, of course, is the one who ticks the most of those boxes. She is Black, she is lesbian, she is a woman, let's be real. And the entire premises of this novel is her being a woman, especially. All the women in this novel are put down so much. Unfortunately, there are countries in the world today where the women do not have any more rights than the women in Leo in this book. But Sophia does, as I said, she does give a lot of representation for a lot of people out there. So, first off, the characters. Obviously, very important thing to discuss in this novel. Sophia is the main character. She does come from a relatively well-off family, considering how some of the families and some of the girls in particular, unfortunately, are left living. So, you know, Sophia she's in a pretty good place as far as collective oppression goes. She's fighting for what's right, and of course that cannot be disregarded, that cannot be put down or belittled in any way whatsoever. But I do feel like she probably hasn't experienced the full extent of what the diabolical King Manfred has done to society. In saying that, the fact that she fights for this anyway, despite the fact she's not the most repressed, is absolutely fantastic. You guys, this is what we need. We need all these people who have the power, who are in positions where they could do something, to actually stand up for those who cannot. So while Sophia is definitely oppressed, she is not the most oppressed, and the fact that she is willing to fight for it makes that more commendable. I wish it didn't, but unfortunately that's the way of the world. So, depressing point aside, she is amazing, you know? The fact that she would die for Erin, which, as I said, is a bit extreme, a bit on the dramatic side, but the fact that she is willing to risk everything to not just defy the king's rules, in the sense that there are no LGBT plus couples in this novel at all. It's legal illegal in the sense that you'll be killed. Not really sure if that's illegal or just fatalistic. But the fact she's defying those odds to begin with, the fact that she is a girl, Erin is also a girl, and I mean, relationship aside, they are both forced to marry men. That is the way of the world. She breaks so many laws and she risks her life so many times for Erin. Erin is kind of not caring. I mean, Sophia says she's been in love with her for 3 years, that they've been best friends since they were children. We never actually see that from Erin. And, you know, I kind of don't like her as a result. I mean, she does get married to that absolute bastard of a man-child who does literally beat her up the second that she accepts his contract. And I'm using the word accepts in the lightest way possible because, you know, if she didn't, she'd be killed. So, I mean, I do see her point of view in the sense this is the way the world has always been. And of course, there are so many different types of people in the world, but unfortunately, it can be brought down into those who act and those who accept. So Sophia obviously is the type of person who acts on it. She does everything in her power to make things right. Erin, on the other hand, is the passive to it. She doesn't like it. She definitely doesn't agree with it. But she is so burnt out and has grown up her entire life hearing all of these things that she has just lost hope completely, and she's decided that accepting her fate is better than fighting it. So while I do dislike Erin, I do where she's coming from. There are so many women in society, there are so many people of colour, there are so many LGBT plus people in the community that have to just accept where they are, they have to accept their position, especially if you don't have the means to fight back. You know, things can get very, very complicated. So I do see where Erin is coming from. Doesn't mean I have to like it. I accept it, I don't have to like it. So in addition to Erin, we have Luke. The second Luke was introduced, I just knew. Or he even told Sophia that he was gay. A queer rainbow coloured heart, I just knew. And then when they were talking about having to go to the annual ball, like the first thing I thought was, oh, he should, you know, put in his contract for Sophia. Then they could be married and they would be fulfilling the laws of the country, but they could both be gay on the sidelines. And then they just had to arrest Luke. Like that was such, it was, of course, I know you need to have setbacks in novels, that's what builds up to the giant dramatic fight at the end. But I felt like there wasn't enough of a play out of that, in the sense that we do meet Luke and we do see him have 2 or 3 conversations before the annual ball, but there was definitely not enough time to actually like him as a character, to fall in love with his character. So when he was arrested and when he was taken away and when that other bastard's younger brother decided to marry Sophia out of spite, there wasn't enough of Luke that I knew of where I could feel super sad about that. Of course, I was angry, I was sad, I was disgusted, but you didn't really know him, so it kind of, not that it didn't matter, because of course it does, but it wasn't something that affected you personally, it was just kind of another injustice in the world full of injustice. So Luke was kind of disappointing. I felt like there was so much that could have been done with his character. At the end especially, he conveniently appears to help Sophia for like 30 seconds, and then he just vanishes again, and even in the epilogue we never hear of him. Speaking of the epilogue, I will come back to Constance herself, but the fact that she became queen, I mean, aside from it being poetic justice, and obviously she is technically the rightful heir to the throne, so, you know, she should have been queen, definitely. There is a line that says she ruled the country with her 6 advisors. I want to know who those 6 advisors are, because they're not listed, and of course I have the dream team, but my dream team only has like 3 people and not 6. So, you know, that's just a side note. Let me know. You guys, let me know in the comments below who you think those 6 people are, because I'm struggling, okay? At best, I've got like 4 people, maybe? And that's it. So definitely do. Let me know in the comments below who you guys think became the 6 advisors, because that is something that definitely should have been mentioned, unfortunately was not. So, going back to Constance, Constance herself is like incredibly powerful, somehow strangely otherworldly, huge, frizzy, red hair, just queen, really. I mean, before she became a literal queen, she was a technical queen. But the fact that she had spent her life like on the run, apparently, they never fully explained that. Like, what did happen to the rest of her family? It is implied that a lot of them were killed, and we do see at the end one of her friends is actually in prison with Sophia. And that is just, you know, coincidence? There is a lot of coincidence in this book. There is so many convenient situations. I mean, as I said, when Luke was getting arrested, that was a setback, and a novel does need to have 4 or 5 setbacks to make it actually, to build up the tension, to build up suspense, to make it enjoyable. Let's be honest here. We do like seeing people suffering, as long as it's fictional. So in saying that, the fact that Luke was arrested, yes, it was a setback, but I kind of feel like it was only done to be convenient. If he had not been arrested, they would have gotten married, happily ever after, obviously not. You know, like the novel couldn't have proceeded the way that it did if he had not gotten arrested. So the fact that he was is convenient. The fact that Constance was at Cinderella's tomb without Sophia seeing her until suddenly she had to see her, that was also very convenient. And Luke's being arrested aside, there are no setbacks in this novel. That is why I had to give it 4 out of 5 instead of 5 out of 5. Plot-wise, the idea is incredible, but the structure is kind of awful. And it pains me to say that, okay? I don't want to say the structure is awful because, as I said, it is such an incredible book, it has so much representation, it's so diverse. But the structure kind of sucks. There should have been setbacks. There should have been so many setbacks. You need that hero rising up to action, suddenly all seems lost, suddenly there's a new idea, they rise up again, something else happens, everything is lost. This novel just did not have that. Which is super disappointing. I mean, of course, you know from the general idea and the fact that this novel isn't part of the series, they were going to win. King Manfred was going to be overthrown. That's just how the book had to end. But it would have been nice if I could have doubted that for even a microsecond. The fact that Sophia finds Constance, great. She visits her parents somehow without getting arrested, despite the fact she is literally a 16-year-old child who has never had any form of training, combat, arts at all. Very convenient. The fact she gets to Constance and Cinderella's house that is somehow still there, despite the fact King Manfred had literally destroyed everything else. The fact that he left that house still standing, very convenient. They go and they try and find the fairy godmother, convenient, get attacked by wolves, but somehow the wolves only want their horse, super convenient. They find her, she agrees to help, convenient. She helps them so much, despite the fact she is King Manfred's mother, despite the fact she was always going to betray them. There was no reason why she should have helped them that much, okay? I mean, yes, you can say that Mina had a change of heart, you know, at the end she realised her son had to be stopped, and unfortunately that meant that she had to be killed to do so. It was all very convenient. And there are a lot of parts that were not explained. The author does attempt to explain them. Like, there is a line that King Manfred says where he does tell Sophia he didn't know what side his mother was on at the end, but that's it. There's just one line to justify half of the novel, and it does not justify it in the slightest. So the fact that the plot structure was such big an issue that it lost an entire star of what was otherwise the closest thing to the perfect novel that I've ever read, it's a big deal, okay? Like, I feel like this book could have been even more amazing than it already is, and that's kind of sad because it gives representation to so many people. I mean, when was the last time you read a fairy tale that did not have a white female who eventually fell in love with a prince? I mean, I know Disney and Pixar are branching out. Pixar, of course, a lot better than Disney is. But in traditional fairy tales, like the Grimm's brothers, Hans Christian Andersen, they were all pretty much the same. And to be fair, well, it's not fair. I can't say to be fair. Okay, to give some sense of justification to them, they were white males in a very patriarchal society 200, 300 years ago. They had probably never seen a person of colour, let alone actually put them in a story, put them in a novel, when at the time you were literally being arrested for being gay, you were being arrested for anything that did not conform to the white, straight, cis male with a top hat, okay? So I understand, I do not agree with it in the slightest, but I do understand why there was no diversity whatsoever in the original fairy tales. But because of that, so many children today are brought up reading all these fairy tales and all these stories, and there is no representation in them. There is no diversity in them. The author herself, Kalynn Bayron, said that the idea for Cinderella is dead. The entire idea from it came from the fact when she was a little girl, she never saw anyone who looked like her in a storybook. And that is absolutely horrendous. That is revolting. That needs to be rectified immediately. Which is also why I want to start a petition to replace Cinderella with Cinderella is dead. So, for a novel that has such representation and has such diversity and is just so incredible, you guys, like, my heart aches with how many people are going to see this novel and see themselves in it. Like, you cannot possibly understand how crucial that is for someone to see someone who looks like them, or to see someone who loves people like them. It is just such an underrated, crucial thing that everyone needs to have. And for this novel to have even a fraction of that, and then have a terrible plot, that is just, there are no words. I love this novel, do not get me wrong, I absolutely adore it so much, but there is no build-up, there's no suspension. Everything Sophia does, she conveniently does it correctly. There are a lot of plot holes, there are a lot of things that are not explained. And the ending, oh my gosh, you guys, the ending. I did not read 400 pages of planning to get 1 page of final boss battle. I mean, King Banford he's like a cartoon. Like, he is so easy to get wound up, and the fact that he is a 200-year-old fully grown man with fucking magic, and he is literally invincible to death, and Sophia's just a 16-year-old completely untrained girl, and she beats him? Just like that? I mean, yeah, she stabbed him in the throat and he didn't die. I guess you could call that a setback, but that also conveniently led her to finding Cinderella's diary. Also, the fact that she did stab him in the throat, and she was only given maybe 2 or 3 lines of, oh my gosh, I'm about to kill someone. She's a 16-year-old girl. She should not have been so casual. Yes, he was a monster. Yes, he deserved to die. He fully deserved to die. But she was still taking a human life. Well, human as far as she knew. She was still taking a human life. And she just accepted that. I mean, there are world-weary, war-surviving veterans today who still have nightmares, who still have PTSD, who still cannot kill people that they believe deserve it. And this 16-year-old child just, yeah, will stab him in the jugular. This is such an incredible novel, despite everything I just said to the contrary. You definitely do need to check this out, okay? I don't care if you are a middle-aged white man, straight, cishet with hair. You need to read this, if only to see things from their perspective. Okay, it is just, representation is important, yes, it is crucial, but for people who have no representation in this book, you still need to read it, you still need to see it from our point of view. The author is the black woman, as I said, so for her to give this representation to young girls who are black, or who have even their ethnicities, people from other cultures, the fact that they're even seeing a protagonist who isn't white, that says a lot, okay? When you go from 0 to even 1%, that is such an incredible jump when you've lived your entire life at 0. So, definitely do check this out. No matter what your background, no matter what your skin colour is, no matter what your sexuality, your gender, none of that should change your decision to read this book, and that decision better be that you are reading this book. I hope you guys liked this rant. I hope you guys definitely liked this book. If you have not yet read it, I don't know why you're here, because I've just spoiled it for you. But still do check it out. There are a lot of things in this book that happened that I have not told you about. Obviously, can't read the entire book. So definitely, please do check out this book, even if you just read the first chapter. The first chapter is available online. I'm honestly not sure where, but I did find it online. Even reading that will probably get you hooked, and you will want to read the rest of this novel. So, I hope you guys liked this rant, I hope you guys liked the book, I hope you will definitely subscribe. If you have any ideas for future book reviews, any book recommendations, anything at all you'd like me to do, then definitely do leave a comment below, even if you just want to say hi, because I will always say hi back. And I will talk to you guys then.